All right, let's rewind to 1972. Bell bottoms, Merle Haggard 8 tracks, and a groovy new 1370 case rolling out of Racine with all the jet age styling and lots of muscle to back it up. By the way, if you want the full story, hit the link in the description. I just wrote a blog article that digs a little deeper into 1370s that I published last week. Anyway, back to the story. This wasn't your granddad's case anymore. Tenneco had become majority owner in 1967, and they were done with the whole "we fear change" attitude of the past decade or more. Tenneco kicked in more capital, and that led to a renewed commitment to ag, and that's where the 70 series comes in. It was new styling and power and creature comforts to back it up, and on top, at least from 1972 to 1976, was the 1370. It made it a turboed 504 with a 12-speed partial power shift, which was good for about 142 horse on the PTO. Engineers weren't satisfied though, so they twisted its tail a little harder, and they sent another one back to Lincoln about a year later. It turned 155. Pretty solid numbers for 1972, and I guess depending on who's telling the story at the coffee shop, there was at least another 50 to 75 horse, depending on how brave you were with feeding it more fuel. It wasn't just a brute tractor though. It was pretty well engineered, especially for creature comforts on the cab side. It floated on big rubber bushings, and that cut vibration and heat and noise. And it had decent seat options and tilt and telescoping wheel, which is great for big guys like me that don't like bashing our knees. And most of them were optioned with AC too, which is also good for big guys like me. Case knew that a farmer that was comfortable was a safer one and more efficient, and the 70 series was a pretty big move forward in that regard. It was a smartly engineered piece in the shop too. They recast the transmission housing so you didn't have to rip the cab off to work on it. You could service most everything that you needed in the transmission from underneath or on the side. Overall, they sold fairly well too. 17,000 of them. Granted, not 4430 numbers, but still, that's fairly respectable. Dealers moved a ton of them in the Corn Belt and I think down south too. The price helped a lot. In 1972, you could get one with pretty much all the bells and whistles and a cab for under 17 grand. So it was a lot of power for the dollar. However, they weren't bulletproof, as most of you probably know. History has not been kind to the 1370s reputation too. They were cranky, especially if you ran them too hard. And of course, lots of farmers did. That's what we did back then, was crank up the pump screw and let's go for broke. Well, transmissions broke, rear end shelled, and motors lifted heads. You guys have all probably seen it. Still, if you ran it right, they worked, usually, for a while. Just tell me, what was your experience with a 1370? Ever run one? If so, what'd you think? Drop it in the comments. Thanks for watching.